Welcome everyone to the webinar on the wealth mindset, which I wish to share with you tonight. I'm going to give you some awesome insights, and what I'm aiming to do with this particular webinar is create a specific intention, and that is to get you to do at least one thing, something that could totally change your financial situation on the plus side. So without further ado, I'm going to go straight into the presentation. So I'm just going to cut here to the screen share. So what we're covering tonight is a mindset map from self-sabotage to self-made. And today's topics are: what is your cybernetic system set to? So we're going to actually determine what is your actual cybernetic system and what is it set to. Equally, we're going to show you 3 essential ingredients to wealth creation, how to spot self-sabotaging behavior, the #1 thing that motivates all behavior, and why our programming gets in our way, and finally, why NLP is so effective in improving wealth. So I'm going to start with a bit of a warning. The warning is that this may confront your beliefs about how wealth is really created. Now, the reason I say that is if it didn't actually stretch you, or if it didn't shift you in any particular way, well, then it's not going to be effective. You need to get out of your patterns, and the way to get out of your patterns is to be a bit stretched or a little bit challenged. So I'm hoping that some of the information I'm going to be sharing with you is quite new and quite different, and perhaps challenging to some degree. So my name is Schnabel. I'm the Brain Untrainer. Now, I was called the Brain Untrainer by a student many years ago who was watching me training and said to me at the end of the training, he said, "Actually, Rick, I would classify you as a Brain Untrainer because you untrain all the patterns that are keeping people stuck in their lives. So you more untrain than you do train." Now, I thought that was kind of cute, and so it stuck. I'm also an accredited trainer of Neuro-linguistic programming, which essentially is a science to shift behavior, change behavior, improve lives, and life coaching, public speaking, and trainers training. Now, just so you understand a little bit about my background, here is a company, Life Beyond Limits. This is a company that I started back in 2004. And its primary focus is about transforming people's lives. We do work with individuals, we do with the general public, we equally do corporate work as well, where we help organizations to improve their thinking and their behavior, and their group dynamics. So equally, I have a couple of companies, other companies, Coach Business College, which is a joint venture with a buddy of mine in Bali. And that's really about helping coaches to understand the business of coaching. And Digital Wisdom, equally with another friend of mine, Warren French, who has a vision of getting great content and putting it out there and helping people to become quite wise by downloading various pieces of information, various insightful, transformational type products. And Breakthrough is largely what we're going to be talking about today. And Breakthrough is a 2-day event. I'm going to give you a fantastic bonus at the end. There is nothing to sell here, by the way. So I'm not going to sell you on anything. I'm actually going to give you something at the end of this, which I think you'll be quite delighted. Our main business is what we do is we teach neuro-linguistic programming, and we equally teach speaking with confidence and trainers training. So we have level 1, which we call Career and Life Mastery, and that's our nationally accredited NLP practitioner and a life coach training program. Then our level 2 program for the people who totally serious about shifting their lives. That's our master's program, and that's Career and Life Mastery level 2. So that's a nationally accredited NLP master practitioner life coach training. Speaking with confidence training is for people who are currently speakers and those who have never spoken ever on stage. and it teaches people how to build the confidence, how to get over fear, how to do a host of things on stage really, really well. Trainers Training is an accredited program that enables people to then go out and teach neuro-linguistic program, and anyone who actually wants to start a training company. Now, these are all accredited through the ABNLP. This is the Australian Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and they are based in Sydney. And I've also written a few books and created numerous products, and all with the focus of helping to transform people's lives, careers, and businesses. So that's Life Beyond Limits, and we're focusing on breakthrough today. So the primary focus, however, is wealth and self-sabotage. So let's talk a little bit about wealth and self-sabotage. So wealth and self-sabotage largely has got a lot to do with people's actions and inactions. Now, yesterday, I did a talk to a group of entrepreneurs in Australia, and specifically in New South Wales. And my talk in the morning was very much about what I call my billion-dollar degree. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is I felt that it was really pertinent to what we were talking about today, and specifically in the context of self-sabotage. Now, back in 2000, this is when the dot-com boom really hit the fore, and there were people making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some overnight. Some on startups that literally had just come off the plan. And I had an idea, and this idea came into me in a great big huge lump. And I remember investing quite significant hours on this idea one evening and right through into the morning. And the idea was to create an online university, because you see, universities major costs are, of course, the real estate, the initial acquisition in the real estate, the building of the buildings, and equally the human resources that are required in the lecturers and all the support team and so forth. Now, I thought that if I could create an online university and do more paper-based type education, that I could perhaps offer much cheaper levels of education through degrees and diplomas, and perhaps even certificates. And so it just so happened that I was meeting with a gentleman who owned a campus the following morning, and I showed the idea to him. Now, I'll abridge this story, make it very short so you get a sense of this. It raced at 1,000,000 miles an hour. What happened within a week? We were pitching this business in Indonesia, and we believed that we would get about 7,500 students in our first year with this program, which gave us an EBIT, that means earnings before interest and tax, of it was $42 million. And you could essentially get a degree for about $5,500, which is pretty amazing, really. And so what happened was we got to Indonesia, and that 42 million changed somewhat. Now, we had we projected this to based on 7,500 students. And what happened when we got to this university called University of Terbuka, what occurred was we met with the vice chancellor there, who wanted, immediately seeing the plan, wanted 50% of our business. Now, I asked him, why would he want such a large chunk of our business? And he said, well, given your projection is based on 7,500 students, he said, what happens when I contribute my entire student population, which was 75,000 students? And so it was of course much bigger, and the EBIT went from 42 million to $998 million. So just so you know, that is $2 million away from $1 billion. Now, to make that in a year would be unheard of back then. But yet, you know, that was the power of the internet. That was the power of, you know, many dot-com businesses. And so what happened, of course, was we needed to raise around $6 million, and we ended up partnering with a company who reduced that down to about 2 million, and they were able to build it for us. So they had, you know, they started the project and they started building it for us. And what actually occurred was that, you know, in a very short space of time, we went live and we made $80,000 in a week with this program, which meant that my estimates were highly conservative. So chances are we were going to be earning a lot more than that. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is these are very big figures I'm sharing with you. And what happened was I saw incredible amount of self-sabotaging behavior that turned people against each other, and, you know, all of a sudden created incredible complexities. And this business idea and the business evaporated within weeks. And it confused me for many, many years, you know, as to why did it evaporate? You know, why did such a great idea, which actually went live and started earning incredible money, which, by the way, we had to refund the entire amount. You know, it was crazy. And the reason that it did what it did was because the business was too big for our self-esteem at the time. Our self-esteem was far too small to really be able to tolerate 42 million, let alone 998 million, you know, almost $1 billion. So that's self-sabotaging behavior. And, you know, what happened back in, well, the company was called Intellect 21 at the time. What happened back then caused me to actually start looking to develop myself, started looking to find out what was going on in my psychology to cause, you know, that incredible $1 billion bungle. And so it caused me to actually share what I'm sharing with you tonight, because I discovered a whole lot about wealth and how our psychology determines what we do. Now, there are 3 ingredients to wealth. These ingredients you will know. The first ingredient is income, of course. You know, we have to have income in order to create wealth. We have to have something that is incoming. Equally, we will have outgoings, and we have to ensure that those outgoings are not more than the incomings. Then, of course, the third element of wealth, or third ingredient, is investing. So we must aim to increase our incomings, reduce our outgoings, and increase our investings. So when we do those, we create the opportunity for increasing our incomings, or certainly increasing our wealth. However, even though we know the fundamental basics, the 3 ingredients to create wealth, we all know this. This is nothing new. The problem is many people are just not doing what they need to be doing in order to get these 3 things working for us. And that's our psychology. You see, what essentially happens is we go out and we get some incomings, and quite often we elevate our self-esteem with things. You know, we go out and we buy things that determine our worth. And those things, of course, cost us money. You know, and there are some things that cost us more than money. You know, so we reduce our incomings with these things and we increase our outgoings. We do the complete opposite to wealth creation. Even though with these things we might look wealthy, but we're not. So to really create wealth, we need to be okay with perhaps what we have. You know, we need to be okay with that. And we need to look after our health as well. You know, what we need to be able to do is increase our incomings and reduce our outgoings. If we're not doing these things, and we're doing what I suggested earlier, which was, or what I showed you earlier, not suggested, what I showed you earlier, which was essentially subscribing to status. What we are doing is we are costing our wealth. It's costing us. That status is actually costing our wealth. And I see so many people do this. You know, the number of people that I've coached over the years and trained over the years that, you know, have gone out and invested enormous amounts of money, you know, to try to lift, you know, their perception, is really costing them their wealth ultimately, you know, because they're creating too many outgoings. So don't be sold on status. Status costs you your wealth. So tip number one goes without saying. Don't be sold on status. You know, status will not give you what you need to give yourself in order to create wealth. You may appear wealthy, and many people do, but boy, the amount of people I've worked with over the years that are up to their neck in debt, but look incredibly wealthy, you know, are suffering for this one decision. You know, so if I get you to decide anything tonight, perhaps this could be one decision. Choose to be yourself. Choose not to get suckered into, you know, having to have the trappings of wealth and not really having wealth at all. So this all connects to a system called our cybernetic system. And our cybernetic system is essentially like a thermostat. You know, it determines, you know, how much of that we make, you know, how much money we actually draw to us, but more so how much we keep. See, our cybernetic system is essentially a comfort zone. You know, there's a threshold. It's like a thermostat. There's a top level and a bottom level. You know, if it gets too hot, we'll turn it off or turn it down. If it gets too cold, we'll turn it up. You know, incomes are very much like this. You know, you'll see people who go through a comfort zone. You know, they start earning what they think they need to earn, and then they stop, you know, and relax and take it easy. And then get back to a level of discomfort and then start working hard again to get that income back up again. And then they stop. And then it falls again. You know, I see a lot of business owners, you know, falling under the spell of their own comfort zone. So in order to create our wealth, what we've got to do is we've got to expand our comfort zone. We've got to pull it out. You know, we've got to get to a point where we become comfortable with discomfort. You know, we've got to expand those barriers and get rid of those short, tight comfort zones and expand them to get to a point where we can start feeling pain and being okay with pain. So our prime motivators, and the reason that we really subscribe to our own cybernetic system, is based on our prime motivators. They are pleasure and pain. So very few of us actually really respond to pleasure. Most of us actually respond to pain. You know, what we tend to do is we move only a step away from the pain until the pain is no more. But if you want to create wealth, you've got to enhance pleasure. You may enhance pain to get you there, but you've got to have a dream. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have something that really gets you G'd up, excited, and moving. So what happens is, for most, they're just too comfortable. They're right in the middle, smack bang in the middle. There's not really any pain, and hey, there's not really any pleasure either. But they're just doing what they do every day. They're just too comfortable. You know, there's not enough pain to move, and there's not really enough desire to actually move towards pleasure either. So as a result of that, you know, they're just not moving. So we want to become comfortable with discomfort. Now, if we look at pleasure versus pain, it kind of looks a little bit like this. We drew a line down the middle. It's kind of like I should budget, but it's painful. I should invest in something, but it's painful. I should ignore status, but if I don't, it's painful. I should stop buying crap, you know, but some of that makes me feel good. It's too painful not to buy crap. I should create a why that makes me cry. Here is your liberation. What you need to do is you need to have a why that makes you cry. And it's not about shoulds, it's about musts. I must budget. I must invest in something. I must ignore status. I must stop buying crap, and I must create a why that makes me cry. So why is purpose. Now let me give you an example of that. Here's my why. This was my why, still is my why. Many years ago, I had a why, and what I wanted was I wanted fresh air. I wanted to be able to surf whenever I wanted to, whenever the surf was up, of course. And I wanted to live in an environment that was healthy for my family, healthy for me, and, had some good country values and, had, sunshine and warm air. So this is where I live now. I live there. I spend most of my time there, So I love surfing, and surfing is good for my health. It's good for my mentality. It's good for everyone. It's good for my students that I teach. It's good for my clients that I coach. It's good for all of my clients who I train, So this was my why. This was what got me motivated. This is what got me doing what I had to do in order to create wealth in my life. And this is something that you need to think about. If you had a picture, what would your picture be? Where would you be? What is the thing that's going to drive you? What is your why that would make you cry? If I could ask you to make a second decision tonight, it's actually about doing just that. Make a decision to create a reason. We do not do anything without reasons. So create a reason to do something. Do more stuff. Do something. Get things moving in your life. Turn your shoulds to a must. So tip number 2 goes without saying. Turn your should into a must. Now, here is a gentleman that did exactly that. His name is Luke Tan. And Luke was a student of mine. First of all, he was a client of mine as a coach. And Luke was, at that time, quite suicidal. He actually had an attempt on his life, and he didn't think he was good for anything. He didn't think he was valuable enough. And what happened essentially was he came through our coaching program. I helped him to get his mindset right. Then he came through our career and life mastery program, level 1. He got very excited. And then what happened from there is that he took his life further and further. Then he went into our speaking program, learned how to speak. Then he came into our training program and learned how to train. Now he trains people all around the world. And you can tell by his body, he's pretty committed. He's very, very committed to what he does. He's very focused. So if you want to be like Luke, if you really want to create success in your life and create wealth, then you've got to turn your shoulds into musts. And the way to do that is get yang, get masculine, get forceful. Now, I know even the women on this particular webinar, they might be thinking, well, I'm not masculine, I'm not yang. But you've got to get your energy a bit yang, a bit masculine, sometimes to break out of patterns, and women equally can get yang and get masculine and get forceful. Ramp up your state, get yourself really energized, because your state determines your thinking. If you can get your state right up, it will get your thinking right up. And it'll create the thinking that gets you to break through the boundary conditions of old thinking and gets you doing what you really need to do in order to create wealth. And to do that, create some crazy goals. Create amazing, crazy, crazy goals. It takes almost as much effort to get average goals as it does to get crazy goals. So why not create some crazy ones, that actually get you to a point where, should you reach them, you get so excited about, what you could achieve or what you get as a result of achieving that goal. Use powerful language. Don't think about it. Don't try. Give it a shot. Use powerful language. I must. I will. Now. Use language that gets you juiced and gets you excited and gets you moving and gets some volition in your life. And kick yourself in the butt. Stop the excuses. Stop the buts. You know, give yourself a kick and go, and be tough on yourself. You know, if you want to get to different levels, you've got to raise your standards. You've got to create a whole new level of standards, you know, and those standards will define you. So be tough on yourself. Now, the reason that we don't do more stuff is because we get fear. But if the thrill is bigger than the spill, then you'll do it. And the thrill is what you need to enhance. So tip number 2, increase your pain. Here is a way to do just that. What is it costing you financially? What is it costing you energetically, holding on to the current life that you're living? You know, what is it costing you physically? What is it costing you mentally? And what is it costing you socially? Financially, perhaps you're not where you need to be. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're running out of week well before, well, you're running out of money well before you run out of week. You know, perhaps energetically you're laying on the couch thinking about all the things that you could do and doing none of them because physically you just don't have the energy. And mentally, perhaps you don't have the sort of thinking that gets you out there and gets you moving. You know, perhaps socially, you know, you're not really in the space or place that you really want to be. So sometimes pain is what we need to move. So what is it costing you? The other way to look at this is increased pleasure. What will it give you financially, energetically, physically, mentally, and of course socially? Same questions, but what's the pleasure? You know, what would your life be like financially if you doubled your income? It's possible. It's more than possible. You know, what would happen if you trebled it, quadrupled it, tentupled it? What would happen to you energetically? You know, what would happen to you physically? Where would you be? And what would you be thinking? What would your mentality be? And socially, what would your social life be like? You know, so pleasure equally is a way to begin to shift us, you know, and ponder this, really, really ponder this. You know, these are good questions to be asking yourself. So tip number 3, increase your pleasure or your pain. And pleasure and pain will move you. So self-sabotage is really secondary gain. So how to spot self-sabotage? Self-sabotage in essence is simply secondary gain. And secondary gain is a disadvantage that is seen or considered or neurologically associated as an advantage. You know, and it kind of looks a little bit like this. So, you know, overweight, for example, you know, if you think about it, what are the advantages of overweight? You know, there's got to be some, because if there weren't any advantages, then of course, you know, everyone, you know, perhaps wouldn't be complaining about being overweight. They'd do something about it. So there's got to be an advantage. So what is that? Here's one. Overweight people can eat what they want. They can eat what they want when they want. They can move slower if they want. They don't have to move fast. They don't have to be risk takers. They don't have to do as much. And they don't have to be as much either. And they don't have to ward off offers, relationship offers, business offers, perhaps even sexual offers. You know, trust me, I have worked with people who put on weight specifically because they don't trust themselves. They don't believe that they can trust that should they get an offer from someone of a sexual nature, that they're going to actually move away from their relationship or do something that they're not going to feel so proud of. You know, so secondary gain is real to them. Here's another one in the context of wealth. This is poor poverty focus, which is the complete polar end. You know, it's a polarity to wealth. Now, poor people can spend when they want. Now, you might think that's funny, but it's true. You know, they may not have a lot of money, but they'll just spend when they want, and they'll spend what they want, and they can work if they want, and they can do anything or they can do nothing. Equally, they don't have to save. Equally, they don't have to invest or risk. and they don't have to be better. So there's a real value in being poor. You know, think about all the work that you don't have to do. You know, you can just be poor. You know, as long as you can keep up the payments for your life currently, whatever that might be. There are some people, trust me, who really, you know, these are some great advantages, you know, and they really don't have to be any better than who they are today. You know, in order to be wealthy, you know that you've got to do something else. You know, you've got to be more. And so secondary gain are the things that will hold people back from even trying. And that's why many people just don't try. So what does it sound like? These are some indicators. And, you know, whenever I'm training or coaching and I begin to hear this language, it gives me a clue that there's some secondary gain. So here's an example. In the context of wealth, you might hear people say, it's too hard. It's just too hard. No, it's too hard. It's too hard. You'll hear it in all sorts of different tones. You know, I don't have the money. Well, how do you think you're going to get the money? You know, this excuse will not create the money. It's secondary gain, and that's what it sounds like. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. You know, many people start complaining that they don't have time. These, by the way, are the two excuses that really stop the large majority. These are the two most common. I don't have money and I don't have time. You know, it's actually not true. Donald Trump, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, you know, anyone that you could ever imagine in the world that has incredible amounts of success equally has as much time as I do, as you do, and we equally have as much potential to make money as well. So these are just excuses, but this is what they sound like. I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy. I'm too tired. You know, I'm worn out. You know, sure, when people have poor thinking, they equally have poor energy. You know, their thinking determines their energy, and their energy will go down, down, down. You know, so, you know, you can tell from what I'm saying here that you really got to do something to burst through that. You know, so as I was relating to you earlier, you know, some of the yang energy, sometimes we need that to really break out of these ridiculous patterns and sayings. I don't know what to do. Now, this one is the intellectual reason. You know, I just don't know what to do. I don't know the steps, etc., etc. We can always learn. We can always find out. Sometimes it's not really about, you know, where you invest. It's just the fact that you are investing, you know, that helps you to actually create wealth. If you're not investing, you can guarantee you're not growing your wealth. And just simply having one house that seems to go up in price is not really investing, you know, because you sell that house, you're back in the same market, you know, with all the other, you know, overinflated houses just like yours. You know, so you're in the same market. That's not truly investing. You know, I can't be bothered, you know, is the lamest of lame excuses, but it's an indicator of secondary gain. So where does secondary gain come from? It doesn't come from the conscious mind, you know, because if it did, we could just consciously change our mind. And it's certainly not in the subconscious mind. I mean, the subconscious mind are things you can think about, but you've got to really think of them. You know, they're not consciously there. You actually got to think a little bit deeper to get to the subconscious. They're not in the unconscious. Well, actually they are. That's exactly where they are. They are so deep in the unconscious mind that we don't even know that they're there because we can't see them. We can't hear them. We can't feel them. We just get the results of our behavior. And we don't know why we fold our right arm over our left or our left arm over our right, or we lead with our right foot or we lead with our left. These are unconscious behaviors. You know, we don't even have to think about them. So many of the behaviors are largely unconscious. So our unconscious behavior determines what we see. So most of our beliefs are actually all in the unconscious. And many of those examples I gave you earlier are essentially all beliefs. So tip number 4, alter your unconscious programming. Alter it, shift it, change it. And some of those techniques that I gave you earlier, you know, they are ways in which you can begin to change your thinking, but they're not the only ways. So here is the way. Now, I did say I was going to give you something, and this is one thing I'd like to give you. I'd like to give you a free ticket to an event that we run called Breakthrough. And it's a 2-day event. It's called Breakthrough Beyond Limits. And this particular event, you can actually get the link here. This is the bit.ly link. Or what you can do is you can get it via our website, lifebeyondlimits.com.au, and it'll take you to this page. When you click on that tab, the events tab, and you'll see the word breakthrough. So you can click on that and then register there, and you'll save $297 because I'm giving this to you for free. So this is to come along to our 2-day event, and should you be in the location that the event will be run, please come along. It's 2 days. I can invest a lot more time with you than just this hour giving you this webinar. And this can perhaps be the 2 days that can totally turn your world around. And I promise you, your thinking will be quite different by the final day than it was when you arrived. You know, so please come along, but let's go deeper. Let's expand your vision. Now, here is another way to expand your wealth. Expand your focus. So when you expand your focus, what occurs is you begin to expand what you do. Let me give you an example. Expanding your focus means that what you're doing is you're beginning to look in a whole different way than most people look. And this is the thing that most people don't realize in the context of wealth. Now, most people think that it's all about activity. And sure, wealth is activity. There's no doubt about that. But what determines that activity is the thinking. So I want to show you how to think like a wealthy person. And the way to do that is expand your vision. So what we typically do, our focus is largely on ourselves. You know, what we do is our self is our wealth focus. So we focus only on self. So if you only focus on self, then you only create enough wealth for self. You know, you might create 1 million because 1 million sounds attractive. You know, you might create 2 million because 2 million sounds attractive, but it's all for you. It's no other reason other than you. But interestingly, the moment that we decide to have a family or have children, perhaps, you know, get together as a couple, have children, we have to immediately start thinking differently. We have to expand our wealth. Now, typically, most families or most individuals working, you know, for the family will not earn more, but somehow their focus will have them starting to focus differently on their expenditure. So they'll be working with the same income, but their expenditure focus changes. And as a result of that, they will have more money, you know, and they'll be able to spend that money on their family, because the moment a family member arrives or any new person arrives in the family, you know, there's more mouths to feed, there's more people to clothe, there's more resources required. So self-focus versus family focus creates more wealth. So if we focus out further, and now we're really starting to get into some wealth language here. What we're doing, if our focus is the community, if we are here to serve the community, therefore our focus is expanded even further. So we have to expand our wealth even greater. If we now go out to our country, if we are serving our country that is providing services into, like, you know, your entire country, again, you have to expand your wealth, just as you have to expand your distribution, just as you have to expand your message, just as you have to expand your influence. So typically, what happens is the moment we expand into our country, our wealth needs to grow even further. So you can imagine if we have a global focus, again, our wealth focus is much more broad. But what if we go further than this? What if we go to, let's call it a spiritual level, you know, whatever you may believe in, you know, let's call it the universe, God, Muhammad, Allah, Buddha, whatever you believe in, you know, If we call that a universal, you know, if we believe that our focus is the universe, and that is that we are providing something of great value, you know, enormous value to the wider, you know, universe, therefore our thinking is completely different again. You know, equally, our wealth is completely different again. You know, I can remember someone that I saw a long time ago that said eventually I would be on the universal payroll, she said. I said, what does that mean? And she said, well, what you're actually doing is you are providing value to the universe. And so if you provide value to the universe, therefore you are on the universal payroll. I now get what she means. But the thing is this, you know, your value, that is what you provide to either self, family, community, country, the world, or the universe, all of a sudden begins to shift as you shift your focus. You have to grow your value as you expand and grow your focus. So, for example, you know, one of my beliefs is that I believe that what we do with Life Beyond Limits is we are serving the wider community. You know, we are serving the universe. We're serving perhaps a higher, you know, deity, a higher entity, that everything that we do must be good. Everything that we do must be of value to all. It must have a sense of ecology about it. You know, that is, it must be good for you. It must be good for others. It must be good for the planet. It must be good for all. So it's a different level of focus. And I hope that makes some sense to you, because if you really get this, it is a real game changer, you know, as to how you're thinking and how you're focusing. It can make a big, big difference. So what I'm essentially saying here is that give is gain, because it's so true. You know, if you essentially give the best of you and you give it with good intention, what you will build is you will build an element that I would put into a summation. I would call it trust. Trust is one of the most powerful elements that you can create from a business perspective or a personal perspective. When people trust you, then what you do is you earn a much higher level of value. You know, I can only say at this particular point that if you, over the years, you have lost trust with people, then to really, you can change this. You can really shift this. Just do everything to be your word, be everything that you say you're going to be, and absolutely, absolutely build your level of trust. Very, very critical, very, very important. Now, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is expand your focus and your influence as you expand your focus on the community, or your focus on wherever you're serving. And the way to do that, what you need to do is you need to know your value, because knowing your value is absolutely critical in the context of wealth. You need to know what is important to you, and you need to know what is important to others. And this will certainly change your focus. So knowing your value, and then grow your value. You know, continually build your skills, build your knowledge, your expertise, and growing your value is, in my view, one of the big key differences in creating extreme wealth. There are too many people who try to be all things to all people, and they're nothing to no one, you know, because they're too broad with their focus. And so growing your value is a real key area, you know, to really expanding your wealth. And so to know and grow your actual value, consider this. Think about this statement. Think about what you're really great at, you know, and complete this for me. You know, I'm great at, you know, what is it that you're really great at? And to help you, let me give you an example of what I believe I'm great at. I believe I'm great at public speaking with heart. You know, over the years, I've invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, and of course, a lot of my wealth in this space to learn, improve, and continually to improve my public speaking ability. Now, equally, teaching is something I'm great at, but it's teaching so that everyone learns. I'm good at communicating things quite simply. Coaching and educating, I don't just coach. When I coach my clients, I educate them too. In fact, coaching's a really funny industry. We're aiming to get rid of our clients as quickly as we can, and it's one of the few industries that aims to do exactly that, which I think is quite funny. But, I'm not saying that to offend anyone, but more so to state that, what is really true with the coaching industry and its focus. So, when I coach, I like to educate, because education is true empowerment. Equally, I'm good at simplifying complex issues, being able to look at something that's incredibly complex and then solving that complex issue. In companies that I work for, who ask me to come in there and help them with some really complex issues, I'm very good at finding out what is the problem and identifying very simple solutions. Finding creative solutions is part of that process. And so once you work out what you're really great at, then work out what is your number one wealth asset. Mine is public speaking. Now, I focus a large portion of my attention at public speaking, because public speaking creates your opportunity to really expand who you are. Public speaking, what it does for you is it allows you to begin to branch out and influence many rather than just one. If you just have to keep working one-on-one, it can take you so long to really begin to, create the sort of level of influence that you perhaps might desire. So think about, what is your number one wealth asset? What is the thing that really makes a massive, massive difference, out of all the things you're great at? And focus on growing those, because if you do, you then create a values path. You get through, rather than the path of convention, getting lost in a maze, you can cut through the maze, and it's amazing how quick you can move when you know what is your number one wealth asset. What is the number one value that you have, and really allow yourself to live, breathe that value. So tip number 6 is know and grow your value. As you know your value and grow your value, your wealth will be proportionate to the level of which you're growing your value. Now, that is self-esteem. Now, when I was talking about that $1 billion, I call it my $1 billion degree, but essentially it was a $1 billion bungle, and it was all about self-sabotage, but certainly self-esteem. So knowing and growing your value means that your self-esteem grows with it, and as your self-esteem grows with it, your vessel, meaning your body, your mind, can hold more wealth. So the more that you grow your value, the more you feel like you are capable of retaining it. This is one of the biggest reasons that many of the lotto winners, various prize pools that people win, and win incredible millions of dollars, why in 5 years the large majority actually are worse off than they were before they won, is the very reason of self-esteem. It's because their self-esteem just does not match their price. So if you know and you grow your value, you will be on the path to wealth. So now, I promised I was also going to say why NLP is life-changing, and this is essentially why. Much of my focus in wealth in the early days, when I certainly wasn't bringing in the sorts of levels of wealth that I can today, it was really NLP that made the difference. And I'll just give you a summation of what is the value. What do you really get when you learn NLP? Well, the first thing is it improves your level of communication. So it improves all your communications, both internally in your own head and externally. And communication is really key in wealth, because no one creates wealth without connecting to another person. And connection with another person is determined by your level of communication. Those who can communicate clearly and succinctly typically increase their level of credibility. Those who cannot reduce their level of credibility. So NLP improves your level of communication. It also gives you tools to shift your actual beliefs. Your beliefs are the determinants that ensure that you act a certain way and you are a certain way. So many of your beliefs will determine what you will and won't do. So it also reframes negative memories. I think this is powerful in the context of NLP. Most people hold themselves back because of their past. Their past predicates their future. It shouldn't, but it does. And NLP teaches you how to completely shift your negative memories, so you can begin not only to shift them, but actually to learn from them, which is why typically people who are very passionate about learning NLP, will often grow their wisdom quite considerably. It also teaches you how to remove conflict. See, most people really don't create wealth because what they actually have is they actually have a conflict. It's kind of like part of them wants to, be quite wealthy, but there's another part of them that doesn't want to break out of the tribe. Now, this is a big, 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 big issue in wealth, because some people actually believe, consciously or unconsciously, actually believe that if they grow their wealth, then their friends won't like them anymore. Now, I hate to tell you this, but that can be true. However, in some cases it won't be true as well, but that can become a conflict. So NLP helps you to remove the inner conflict so you can just keep moving forward, and make a choice either way rather than being torn between the two. It also helps you to master your thinking, helps you to create much, much clearer thinking. So what happens essentially is your thoughts follow your intention, and you can determine your intention up front, and all your thinking follows along that line. It creates a lot of clarity. So it also teaches you to manage your emotional state. I mean, your emotional state's everything. Whatever you feel, you think. Whatever you think, you say. So you can't have a low emotional state and say happy things, with congruence. You'll hear it in your tonality, even if you're putting it on. So really quite powerfully, NLP helps you to shift your emotional state, gives you actual tools to shift your emotional state just like that. And really, really, really powerful stuff. And it can actually change your thinking just by changing your emotional state. It also improves confidence. Overall, as you start to unpack a lot of the learnings of NLP, you find people starting to get more and more and more confident within themselves. So for that reason, I think NLP is amazing. And as I mentioned earlier, it does give you a deeper wisdom. So you will learn so much more about yourself. You will know yourself very, very well. I mean, a very wise person once said to me that intelligence is knowing other people. Real wisdom, true wisdom, is knowing yourself and other people. And NLP certainly teaches you that. So, what we do in our Career and Life Mastery Level 1 is we teach you this, but we also teach you life coaching. It's a fantastic transformational course, and you cannot come out of this course without totally shifting in quite a significant way. And that's why I'm such an ambassador of NLP, because I really believe in it. Regardless of whether you choose to learn NLP with us or you choose to learn NLP with someone else, it doesn't matter. As long as I would recommend that they're accredited, so you know that you're really learning great value NLP and it's to a standard. But wherever you are in the world, look for someone who you can trust, who can really take you through NLP and teach you, these wonderful tools, because in truth, you know, if there was any one course that if you only could do one course in the world, this would be it. This would be the course that I would certainly do. If I had to start all over again, I would start with this course. And in fact, I would have done it much, much earlier. So, you know, this course really delivers you calm. You know, you feel much calmer within yourself. So why is NLP life-changing? Well, this is what it did for me. I personally went from almost $70,000 in debt to, within 12 months, to earn over $500,000 in the 12 months after learning NLP. It was absolutely financially massively shifting for me. Now, not everyone comes to NLP because they want to learn how to shift their wealth. Some people want to improve their health, their relationships, and lots of other areas of their life. But for me, I was in massive debt. I wanted that debt gone, and I wanted to work out what was it that was stopping me. And for once and for all, I didn't want to ever have another billionaire bungle. You know, so I really wanted to learn how to shift my thinking along those lines. You know, I got clear, I got focused, and I got confident. And, you know, that's what NLP did for me. And, you know, at the end of the day, I got this. You know, I got this wonderful lifestyle. You know, all this week, I have had incredible surf here. So, you know, there's been fantastic days surfing out here. And, you know, so in my view, it was the NLP that created the opportunity for me to surf out here and enjoy, you know, working in Life Beyond Limits. I love my job. I love what I do. You know, I love my life. And, you know, I owe it to learning how to change my thinking with neuro-linguistic programming. It was absolutely fantastic. So here is my promise. How would you like to learn NLP on me? Here is what I'm offering you. You know, what if it transformed your life? You know, actually says, what if it transformed your life? I actually mean, what if it transformed your life? You know, what if you got more confidence? You know, a hell of a lot more confidence. What if you were healthier, happier, wealthier? And what if it just cost you a weekend? Because that's all it's going to cost you. Because I will pay for it. I will give you 2 days of NLP training totally free. And this weekend will be absolutely amazing. You will find that your thinking will certainly shift over this weekend. It's powerful, powerful stuff. And I will say up front that it is not our 8-day full training. It's 2 days of NLP, but you will certainly learn an enormous amount, and you will gain tools that will certainly shift your life. So this is how you do it. So to get your free ticket to Breakthrough, all you have to do is, that's the link. It's http://bit.ly/breakthrough-fly. Or easier, what you can do is, let me go through tip number 7 first. Learn NLP and watch your career and business or your life totally transform. So here is how to do it. Go to this website, lifebeyondlimits.com.au. Again, lifebeyondlimits.com.au. This is what it's going to look like. It'll look like this. Click on the events tab and click on Breakthrough. Register using that button, and you'll save $297. You know, bring all your friends. Come along to this event. This event will totally transform your life. It is such a cool weekend. It runs from 10 o'clock in the morning right through to about 6:30 in the evening. 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. And I will be your personal trainer, and I will show you how NLP can totally transform your life. It's very, very cool information. You know, my name is Rick Schnabel. I'm a brain trainer. I'm also an accredited trainer of NLP, life coaching, public speaking, and trainers training. And thank you so much for investing this time with me. And I hope I've been able to, you know, give you a sense of, you know, what can be achieved, you know, with changing your wealth with utilizing NLP, and I hope I've given you some great insights. The thing that I need to encourage you to do tonight, or whatever time you're watching this, is make a decision. A lot of people think, and I believe there's a new disease, it's called thinkivity. Think, but not enough people do. So if you really want to change your life, the way that you're going to do that is by actually making a decision. So make a decision to do something. Out of all the things I've shared with you, make a decision about one of them, two of them, or all of them, and make a decision. Decide, make it a must. Ramp up your energy, do what you've got to do, and change your wealth. I promise you that within 12 months, you'll look quite different financially, but you must make a decision. So on behalf of Life Beyond Limits and the team, I wish to thank you for investing this time. I hope I've helped you even in a little way. And I hope that little way creates a big shift. So please, thank you for tonight, or thank you for this time that we've spent together. And hopefully I'll see you at Breakthrough or one of our trainings. But for now,